however long it might take, that we will have to train millions upon millions of soldiers who have no formal training. You saw in the video, these guys are practicing. They don't even have proper training facilities, for crying out loud. They're using like tomato cans full of gravel to learn how to throw grenades. I mean, are you kidding me? The German military has a military up in the 9 million mark. Okay? Japan, millions too. Italy, same thing. We've got to do something. But this is huge. This is the first peacetime draft. So already we're a little bit late on the ball, starting to mobilize our troops and starting to get them ready. Okay? Now guess what, class? There's a difference between World War I and World War II here, especially with drafting. True or false? In World War I, America had a great number of people going to enlist in the military. False. They did not want to fight in the war. They felt the war was, the Socialist Party was big at that time. They felt the war was an unnecessary outgrowth of capitalism. It was all about greed. This war is different. This is not about greed. This is about direct threats to your livelihood. Plus, what other motive might soldiers have for enlisting in the military? You've got the depression. That's why they have no trouble recruiting guys to go into the military. Absolutely 100% no trouble. Guys want to go in the military. They want to fight. They want to have a job. So just remember that. Well, America is going to start shifting its emphasis to getting more and more involved. And I got to start off with this. In early 1941, after the Burke-Wadsworth attack, so here's the timeline. September 1939, we've got the attack on Poland. By late 1940, you've got France falling. Early 1941, the consensus is in Washington that what we must do is we must aid the nations fighting against the fascists. And you can see how much money the United States is going to lend and lease, which are two different things. Lend is called lending money, okay? Lending money directly to those nations who need it to fight against Hitler, but also leasing, which basically means building weapons here and then having ships from Great Britain or France come and get those weapons and take them back. Remember how the Great Depression ends with World War II? This is really where it ends, right here. Because now you've got so many people going back to work in the factories. War puts us up, puts our GDP up as we begin to, lend and lease. Notice that we're giving money to the Soviet Union too. Oh, interesting. You know why? Because they're our friends. Yes, the Soviet Union, home of Joseph Stalin, guy who killed 20 million people of his own kind, even had his own wife killed, according to who you ask. Anyways, look at our allies too, lots of them. So America benefiting from this. I don't know, neutral? Maybe not. Let's talk about this. The Atlantic Charter. In mid-1941, Winston Churchill meets with Roosevelt off the coast of what is Canada today. It's called Newfoundland. Okay? They meet in an aircraft carrier. And what they do is they come up with nothing short of an alliance. It's called the Atlantic Charter. What this does is it lists a bunch of common aims in case America gets involved in a war. One of those aims is to rid the world of Nazi aggression. I don't know about you, that doesn't sound very neutral to me. But that's what the United States does. And I think Roosevelt had a number of things going on here. He wanted to make sure that the United States was part of making a deal with Great Britain to keep that alliance strong, because let's just face it, France is shot, you know. The Soviet Union, are they trustable even though we're giving them money? I mean, they're communists, for crying out loud. Great Britain is our best bet for an alliance here. So, and Churchill obviously wants America's money, America's weapons, and this is a way of solidifying that alliance. Now we get to the interesting stuff. Not that any of that wasn't interesting. December the 7th, 1941, we have the attack on Pearl Harbor. This attack took place on a Sunday morning. I should know because I've seen the movie. No, I'm just kidding. I know it anyway. Actually took my wife there when we were dating on our third date. We left. It was so long. Too much making out in the movie. Oh, sorry. Sorry to say that. Anyways, Pearl Harbor was the Japanese surprise attack. Or was it a surprise?
It wasn't an attack, that was on a Sunday. Sound familiar? That's what actually said. There was I don't know what the leader,
yeah.
The lady's called. They had the warning, they knew they were coming. Oh no, it's going to attack on Sunday.
Yes, there is so much controversy about Pearl Harbor. Okay, let's dig into that just for fun. In your book, they have a whole section about Pearl Harbor. Was Pearl Harbor a manufactured event by the United States government to get the United States into the war? Or was it more of a surprise attack by the Japanese? There are debates on both sides. And I can honestly tell you, it's very hard in history sometimes to make a judgment like that. You have to look at all the sides together. There's compelling arguments on both sides. But we'll go over the facts in just a second. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that the Japanese aircraft carriers that passed through American radar systems just within airplane range of Pearl Harbor was there maybe 3 days before the FDR knew did nothing to stop it.
Right.
And just points more fingers to the fact that Pearl Harbor was set up.
Yeah, but you also got to take into account
Go ahead.
the messages traveling a lot slower, not as fast.
That
is true too, which is the fun of this. Okay.
Wasn't it weird there was 2 important fleets of ships and all of a sudden, an unfortunate accident, they were not present?
True, yes. Again, compelling arguments. Yes.
So I guess what you're saying, the point is this is that like it was manufactured so they would get America into the war. But after the fall of France, America was ready for the war because they thought it was already threatened. They don't need more soldiers.
Well, here's what we know, and here's what we can say for sure. Okay, and your book does a really good job of it. The facts are simple. As Japan started to become more powerful and started to look for more resources in Southeast Asia, the United States basically did what they're doing to Cuba right now. It's called an embargo. America decided, hey, we're not going to trade with Japan anymore. We're not going to sell oil, especially. Our exports are not going to go to Japan because, of course, Japan needs that oil. So there were negotiations to try to negotiate some kind of deal because Japan doesn't have those resources. So if Japan doesn't have those resources, they're going to have to get them from somewhere. And where is Japan going to look? Japan's going to look to Southeast Asia to try to get all of those resources, and there's plenty of oil there. They're going to look to the East Indies, which is today Indonesia. There's plenty of oil there. America and the Japanese are not going to cut a deal about, peace. But Japan's not going to get what it wants, and so it is going to take revenge. Okay? Now the question is, it's kind of like Watergate in a little bit. Like, how much did the president know, and when did he know it? Again, there is, depending on who you ask, and there's documentaries on this stuff. Like, if you're really bored tonight, watch them on YouTube. They're very interesting. The BBC does a pretty good documentary on it. There are those who say that, like some of you are saying, the fleet was near. Roosevelt knew the positions of the Japanese fleet. Roosevelt knew what was going on. He wanted there to be, they wanted the Japanese to fire the first shot. Because if America fires the first shot and goes after the Japanese, that's going to make us look bad, right? In fact, let me quote one of our leaders at this point, where he basically says, and I'm going to paraphrase, one of the leaders of the American military was like, how do we get them to fire the first shot? Just think about it for a second. If you're President Roosevelt, and I'm playing devil's advocate, this is the fun part. If you're President Roosevelt, what do you have to gain, seriously, by having the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor or anywhere? What do you gain by that? What's going to happen? Is it going to help you? Is it going to help you in your re-election campaign? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're going to have to go to re-election. Is it going to help you unify the country? Is it going to help stimulate the economy? Is it going to, is it going to help people get involved in the military? Right? Any normal person would think, that's pretty compelling. And then again, there are those who believe, based on all kinds of evidence, that this was indeed a surprise attack. Me personally, I'm in the middle. I see both sides. I can see how it's possible. We'll never know. If I go to heaven and I ask God, which I believe in, not saying you guys have to, I'm not church and state here. I'm going to ask God like three things. Who killed JFK? Did Roosevelt know about Pearl Harbor? And number three, that aliens really exist. And that's pretty much what I'm going to ask you. Oh, I got a fourth one. What's on the 18.5 minutes of Watergate tape? That's what I want to know. Four things. I don't care about them. But those are my four. Those are my four right there. I just got to know. I don't want to know anything else. How sad is that? Going through my mind. I know, right? Go ahead.
I had a home history teacher in high school that believed that the assassination of JFK. And he says, when all of us died out that actually cared and were around the time of JFK, I believe that they'll lose the public about life.
You never know, right? I mean, my goodness, there's so much stuff that's untold, which is so beyond, like, the academic stuff, and it makes for good media, right? Like, it makes people want to watch stuff like the History Channel, like the untold stories of this and that. Yeah.
That's my mom's favorite movie, and she always tells me they speak Japanese.
Right.
So she always looks at me every time I'm watching them.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm not going to give you one way or the other. I'm just putting it out there. Just be familiar with those arguments, because who knows? It might be on the quiz there. The main guy that came up with that argument is a guy named Charles Beard. And he's in your book too. But those arguments have gone back